Today we are going to look at a very interesting question. Where do the calories in calorie-free sweeteners come from? This will be a very short lecture, but hopefully an interesting one even if you've never studied chemistry or biochemistry. We buy a sweetener and see 0 calories on the label, but some manufacturer may list even 2 calories per gram. A perfectly reasonable question arises. If a sweetener is considered not caloric, where do these calories suddenly come from? First, let's briefly remind ourselves what calories actually are. A calorie is a unit of energy, just as a kilogram is a unit of weight. The calorie content of a food tells us how much energy our body can obtain from a particular substance. Virtually every organic compound contains some amount of chemical energy. When chemical reactions occur in the body, one substance can be converted into another. For example, when we eat table sugar or sucrose, which consists of one glucose molecule and one fructose molecule, our digestive enzymes first break the bond between them. The glucose is then absorbed into the bloodstream and enters cells, where it participates in further metabolic reactions. During these reactions, energy is released. However, calorie content depends not only on how much energy is stored in a molecule, but also on whether our body can actually access that energy. For example, wood is an organic material and contains a large amount of energy. If we burn it, it produces heat. But humans cannot digest wood because most of it consists of cellulose, and we lack of enzymes needed to break cellulose down. So the energy is there, but our bodies cannot effectively access it. The same principle applies to many sweeteners. Regular sugar is easily digested because we have the necessary enzymes to break it down. After digestion, sugar yields glucose and fructose, which are absorbed through specialized transport systems in the small intestine and enter the bloodstream, where cells can use them as an energy source. That is why the body can extract a significant portion of the energy contained in sugar. 1 gram of sugar provides approximately 4 kilocalories. Historically, energy content was measured by burning food samples in a device and measuring the heat released. Later, these values were adjusted to reflect how much of the substance is actually absorbed and utilized by the human body. But not all substances can be digested and absorbed equally well. Different compounds require different enzymes for digestion. If we lack the necessary enzymes, or if those enzymes do not function efficiently, as in lactose intolerance, the substance may pass through the digestive tract largely unchanged. This is one of the main reasons why many sweeteners have very low caloric values or are considered non-caloric. The reason is not that the molecules contain no energy. Like most organic compounds, they do contain chemical energy. The issue is that our bodies cannot efficiently extract the energy. So why do some manufacturers still list calories? The answer lies in our gut microbiota. Trillions of microorganisms live in our intestines, and very often that we cannot digest, certain gut bacteria can. Some poorly absorbed polyols and dietary fibers reach the large intestine largely unchanged. There, specific bacteria may use them as a food source. These bacteria process enzymes that allow them to break down and ferment these compounds. During fermentations, they produce various metabolic byproducts, including short-chain fatty acids. These short-chain fatty acids can then be absorbed and utilized by the body. And because they are organic compounds, they also contain chemical energy. As a result, in some cases, the body obtains energy not directly from the original sweetener, but from compounds produced by gut bacteria during fermentation. For certain poorly absorbed ingredients, parts of their caloric value can be explained by the production of these short-chain fatty acids. However, this process doesn't apply equally to all sweeteners. Let's take erythritol as an example. Erythritol behaves quite differently from any other sugar alcohols. Most of it is absorbed in the small intestine. However, once absorbed, it is hardly used by the body as a source of energy because humans lack efficient metabolic pathways to convert erythritol into usable energy. As a result, most absorbed erythritol circulates through the body largely unchanged and is eventually excreted in the urine. Only a small amount reaches the large intestine, so very little is fermented by gut bacteria. This is why erythritol is considered to have a caloric value close to zero. A similar situation occurs with allulose. Chemically, allulose is very similar to fructose, but a small difference in molecular structure dramatically changed the way it is metabolized. Most allulose is absorbed in the small intestine, but only a limited amount participates in energy metabolism. Because of this, a large portion of allulose passes through the body without making a meaningful contribution to energy production and is eventually excreted. As for high-intensity sweeteners such as stevia, monk fruit extract, sucralose, even if the molecules technically contain some energy, they are used in extremely small amounts. As a result, their contribution to the total calorie content of a food product is essentially zero. So, the calorie content of a substance is determined not by how much energy is stored within its molecules, but by how much of that energy the body can actually access and use. That is why some sweeteners are considered non-caloric, not because they contain no energy, but because our bodies can extract little or none of it. And even when a small amount of energy becomes available through bacterial fermentation and the production of short-chain fatty acids, the contribution is usually so small that it has virtually no impact on the overall calorie content of the food. And that is the whole secret.